Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. Remy turned to look at me. She seemed confused. Who are you? There shouldn't be anybody here but me. Are you another me? No. Then, who are you? How'd you get here? This is my mind. There was only darkness here for such a long time. The only light was the spotlight that fell on me. But the minute you came, the darkness vanished and the sky appeared. Our delusions synchronized. Your power was very strong. I see. Remy looked back up at the sky, and as your sky is so clear, it looked like you could see forever. I've never seen the real sky. When this personality was born, I was locked up in a dark room. There was nothing but darkness, both inside and outside my heart. They'll never let me out. I was trying to die. To make my heart commit suicide. I'm sure all the personalities that came before me did the same thing. But since you brought me the sky, is it okay if I remember it, so the next me can imagine it? Do you want to die? Yeah. You don't want to see the real sky? Hey. Is the sky real? It is. But the real sky is dirtier than this one. Where is it? Where can I find that sky? Anywhere, if you desire it. Is it okay? For me to want it? Of course. How do I do it? Light is an electromagnetic wave. The human eye sees it, vibrations as colors. Try feeding the color you want to see into your own dead spots, and then
君の望む世界の色を
you can make the world any color you desire.
世界は
The world
君の望みに応えてくれるよ
will answer your wishes. Days, or perhaps months, passed after that meeting. Remy came to my hospital room. She and I were both staying in the same hospital. We both had the same gigalomaniac power. Though whether we should be proud of it or hate it, I didn't know.
お兄、お客さんだよ。
Brother, you've got a guest.
ねえねえ。
Hey,
彼女さ
who
ん。
is it?
いつの間に
Your girlfriend? When did you get a girlfriend?
やるね。
Nice going, brother.
また会えたね。
We meet again, huh? She looked so tired. Her skin was sickly pale, her hair was a mess and far too long. Her nails were cracked. And she kept squinting, like she was used to bright light.
本物の空は
Did you get to see the real sky?
うん。
Yeah.
あ、そうだ。
Oh, right. Nanami had been watching us carefully, and suddenly she clapped her hands together like she'd remembered
ナ
something.
ナ、お洗濯
I
し
have
て
to
こな
go
くちゃ
do the laundry.
リミさん
Remy,
でした
was
っ
it?
け
You
ど
two
うぞ
kids have
ごゆ
fun.
っくり。
Nanami left. Remy and I watched her go, neither with much emotion. Remy turned back to
匠
me.
はいつから入院してるの？
How long have you been in the hospital, Takumi?
5年ぐらい
5 years or so.
退院の予定は？
When are you supposed to leave?
ないよ僕の余命はあと2年ぐらいだと思
I'm
うし
not. I'm only going to live. Another 2 years or so, I think.
私はあなたのおかげで
I was able
頑
to
張る
try
ことができた。
because of you.
終わりなんて
I thought that there'd never be an end. But I decided to try until I
あ
saw
な
the
たが
sky
教
you
えて
taught
く
me
れた
about.
空を見るまで頑張ろうと思った。そしたら
And then
急
suddenly,
に
they let me go.
外に出してもらえた。
It's probably better to say they were just done with
用
me.
済みになったって
To
言
be
った
honest.
方が正しい。
そう
I see.
私はあなたに救わ
You
れた。
saved me.
だから
So, now,
今度は私があなたの力になりたい。
I want to help you.
そんなの気にしなくていい
You don't need to worry about that.
わざわざ僕に会いに来なくて
You
い
don't
い
even
よ
need to come see me.
君にはこれから普通に生
I
きて
want
ほ
you
し
to
い
go live a normal life.
普通の生き方なんて
I don't even know what a normal life
わ
is.
からないから。
Remy's past, Remy's feelings, Remy's resolve. I remembered them all, and it made my chest tighten up in
な
pain.
んで
Why
リミは僕に近づいてきたの？
彼女は君の
she
近く
was
にい
trying
るこ
to
とで
stay by your side,
君の行動
to watch over you,
君に
and
接
the
触して
people
くる
around
人
you,
間のことを監
to
視し
make
て
sure you didn't awaken.
君を彼女を恨まないで
Please, don't
彼女はただお
Don't
せっかい
hate
な
her.
だけなんだ
she's just nosy, that's all. There was a sad echo in Shogun's voice.
巻き込みたくなかったの
I didn't want to get her involved,
彼
no
女
matter
は
how
僕
I
がどれ
tried
だ
to
け止め
stop
ても
her. She
聞い
wouldn't
てく
listen.
れなかった勝手に
She felt like she had
僕に
some
恩義なく
obligation
感じて本当におせっかいだよ
when really she didn't.
リミとナナミは
Who's holding Remy
誰
and
に捕ま
Nanami?
ってるの？
プロジェクトノアの
The
責
man
任者
behind Project Noah
すべて
and
の
all
黒
of
幕
this, Kenichi Norose.
のかつてリミを捕らえて
He's
拷問
also
し
the
てい
man
た
who
男でも
once
ある
kidnapped and tortured Remy.
それなのにリミは
But
ナナ
she
ミ
went
と
to
僕
face him anyway,
そして君を助けるために
to save you,
あの
me,
男の
and
ところへ
Nami.
たった一人で乗り込んでいっちゃった
The voice came back into my head. It was Remy speaking, but she was saying things I'd never heard her say. They were words Shogun had heard. Is this how shadow clone jutsus work?
リミ
Remy?
うん
Yeah,
うん
it's me.
私実は
I have something to tell you, actually.
ナナちゃんを
I'm thinking of
こ
going
れ
to
から助
save
けに行
Nana.
こうと思って
やめるんだ
Don't.
君はあの男
You never want to see that
ノロ
man
セとはもう
Nerose
会いたく
again,
ないでしょ
right?
私って
I guess
信
you
用
don't
され
trust
て
me,
ないな
huh? It'll be
ね
fine.
昔の話だ
It
し
was a long time ago anyway.
そもそも
In between my
私の感情
feelings
と
and
ナナちゃ
saving
んを
Nana,
助けること
it's
と
obvious
どっ
which
ち
one
を
is
優
more
先させる
important.
かなんて決まりきって
ナナミを助けるのは
Saving Nana
プロジェクトノアを
and
止める
stopping
のは
Project Noah are my
僕の
jobs,
やるべきことだ
not
君
yours.
は
言ったでしょ
I told you.
私はあなた
I
の
want to
力
help
に
you.
なりたいってそれに
And
タクには関わらせたくないの
I don't want to get Taku involved.
おせっかい
You
だね
really are nosy. Does that mean that, this guy got hurt in the earthquake and she had to, take care of me? Is this how shadow clone jutsus work?
あなたにしか言われたこと
Yeah,
は
maybe.
ないけど
You're the only one to ever tell me that, though.
ね
Hey, can I tell you
えちょ
something?
っとだけ語っちゃっていいかなタクにねいろいろひどいこと
I said a lot of really mean things to Taku.
しかも
And the worst
そんな
part
ことし
is,
ておいて
and I know this is
僕
really
自分勝手なんだ
selfish,
け
but
ど私
I had a lot of fun
彼と一緒に過ごした時間は
when I was around him.
とっても何もかもが
I mean, it was just lies held together
まやかしで
with
しかなかったの
delusions.
学生生
My
活
life at school,
あの学校に
the fact that
私
Taku
や
and I
タク
were
が通ってい
students
ることも
there,
大地と友
the
達だっ
fact
てい
that
うこと
Daichin
も
was my friend,
私がタクと
even
一
me
緒
trying
にいよ
to
うと
stay
した
by
こ
his
とも
side,
タクの存在そのもの
even
も
Taku himself.
タクってどうしよ
Taku's
うもない
such
く
a
らい
wimp.
情けなくて
He's
ど
so
う
weak
し
and
ようもないく
hopeless.
らい弱くて
No normal girl would ever even notice
普通
him.
の女だったら見向きもしないような男の子なんだよなのに
But, for some
私の
reason,
心には楽しかったっていう気持ちがあるの
my heart's telling me I had fun.
なのに
For some
私
reason,
の心には
my heart's telling me that I
もっと
wish
一緒にいたかったっていう気持ちがあるの
I could have spent more time with him.
この気持ちって
What do you think this feeling is?
何なのかな
インプリンティングのようなもの
Maybe some kind of
かもしれ
imprint.
ないね
本能っていうことかな
Instincts, you mean? That might be kind of
それって
romantic in a way.
意外とロマンチックかも
君が楽しかったなら
If you had fun,
きっと彼も楽しかったと思うよ
I'm sure he did too.
そうだと
I hope so.
私は
I'm kind of
タ
like
ク
him,
と似
in
た
a
よう
way.
なものだから肉体が妄想から
Somebody
作
with
ら
a
れた
body
存在
made from
と
delusions.
人格が妄想か
And
ら作
somebody
られ
with
た
a
存在
personality
と
made from delusions.
どっちも変わらない
They're
でしょ
not that different, are they?
だからタクのこと
That's why I didn't want to erase Taku.
消さなくちゃダメだって
I thought that I
思っ
had
て
to,
たんだけど
though.
ねでも
But at some point,
いつの間にか感情移入しちゃったみたい
I guess I started to feel sympathy for him.
タクにはごく普通に暮らしていってもらいたいの
I want him to live a perfectly ordinary life.
私はタクミもタクも
I want to save both
助
of
け
you.
たい
Takumi and Taku.
ねえ
Please,
タクのことは
just
そっ
leave
としてお
Taku
いてあ
alone.
げて
そういうわけにはいかない
I can't.
ノア2
I
を破
need him
壊
to
するために
destroy Noah too.
彼は必要だよ
私が何とか
I'll
する
fix
から
this somehow.
君はそんなことしな
You
くていい
don't have to.
君こそ
If anybody should try to
Goku
lead a
普通に暮らしていくべ
perfectly
きだ。
ordinary life, it's you.
さてと
Okay.
そ
I'm
ろそ
going
ろ
to hang up.
切るね
リミやめて
Remy, don't.
本当に
Really?
大丈夫だってあなたは何も心配しないで
It's fine. You don't have to worry about a
私
thing.
が全部
I'm
決
going
着
to
を
put
つ
an
け
end
て
to
くるから
this. Okay?
タクミ
Takumi. Now, far past the point when it could possibly matter, The warmth of Rimi's words filled my heart. She really was nosy. What could drive her to do all this? What could drive her to do so much for another person?
私はタクの味方だから。
I'm on your side. My memories of Rimi came flooding back. We hadn't spent long together at all, and these were feelings hidden behind each word she spoke.
私が一緒にいてあげる。
I'll be there for you. For this past year and a half, I hadn't done much but play ESO and H games, along with some real money trading. I'd spent all day on them, barely ever leaving the base. I almost never went to school. I never tried to talk to anybody. I was alive, but I'd lived my life like I was dead. But this past month or so had been totally different. Even in the end, she had been lying to me.
朝一緒に学校行って。
I'll go to school with you. She'd been there for me.
学校では休み時間に
On break, we can
どう
talk
でもいいこと
about
話して。
When I've been afraid, she made me feel better.
お昼休みは一緒にご飯食べて。
At lunch, we can eat together. She'd always been there to support a loser like me. She'd been there to make me feel better.
夕方一緒
And
に
then,
帰って。
in the evening, we can go home together. She'd give me a hug and held me in her arms.
帰るついでにたまに
Sometimes,
どこかのお店に寄っ
we
たり
might
して。
stop someplace on the way back. I was a delusion, but she taught me about human warmth.
タクの部屋で
Or maybe
ちょっとだけおしゃべりして。
have a little chat in your room. She could have erased me, but instead tried to protect me.
それでまた明日ねって手を振って
And then I'll
別れ
wave
て。
goodbye and I'll say, see you tomorrow. She'd give me memories.
そんなのでいいなら私いくらでもしてあげるよ。
If that's all you need, I can give it to you. I'd only been alive for a year and a half, but I could remember every instant I'd spent with Rimi.
そういうの結構憧れなんだ。
I always wanted to do something like that. The small little gestures she made, the scent of her hair, the sound of her breathing, the sparkle in her eyes, the cheer in her voice, her gentle warmth. Oh, now I understand. I'm in love with Rimi. Disgusting. I chuckled at just how disgusting I was. A guy who didn't even exist falling in love with somebody. Could a delusion even fall in love? Or was I maybe just imagining things? I couldn't tell. I wanted to be honest about these feelings. Rimi saw me as a friend, not as a potential boyfriend, and a creepy loser like me wasn't anywhere near worthy of her. But even if it was just one way, even if it was just my own self-satisfaction, even if it was just a delusion, I wanted to do something to help someone, to help Rimi before I disappeared. When a creepy otaku falls in love, it's creepy. When a delusion falls in love, it's creepy. But so what? Even if it's creepy, even if it's never going to happen, I didn't want these feelings to be a delusion or my imagination. Our memories of the past month were shared awareness between me and Rimi. Even if everything else was a lie, these memories and the feelings they created were real.
世界を救ってほしい。
I want you to save the world. Shogun spoke. I shook my head.
僕は勇者じゃない。
I'm not a hero.
人間でもない
I'm。not even human.
そんな僕に
And you want me
世
to
界を
save the
救え
world?
とか。
What are you
何を考
thinking?
えてるの？
君には本当に悪いと思ってるけ
I
ど
really am sorry, but you're the
君
only
に
one
や
who
って
can
も
do
らう
it.
しかないんだ。
So were you creating the delusion of... So you were creating the delusion of... Okay, so there is a real Nana. She got kidnapped in the sword hand thing. But the one that was coming to the base, she was never actually real. She was a projection created because you wanted to have memories of spending time with your sister and being kind of normal, and because, well, you felt like how your actual sister was coming to visit you at the hospital made you feel better. It was a support. You were sending an additional delusion of your actual sister to the other version of you, so that he wouldn't be alone. You sound like an idiot apologizing to yourself. I glared at the real me. The real me stared back at the fake me. I hate you.
僕は君が
I'm
羨ま
jealous of
しい
you.
よ。
僕は世界
I'm
のた
not
め
going
に
to
な
do
ん
a
か
thing
頑
to
張ら
save
ない
the world.
世界を救うと
I
か
don't care
そんなことどうでも
what
いい
happens to it. I'd decide for myself the reason I was
た
born.
だ
But
僕はリミを助ける
I will save Remy.
ありがとう。
Thank you. The sounds around me returned. The confusion around me had only increased. At this point, it was a riot. I was surrounded by the smell of blood, by screaming, by pain moans, and the noise of some kind of machine, like a microphone feedback onto itself. It was
理
everywhere.
想度を手に
Tell
入れ
me
る方法を
how
教
to
え
get
て
a D sword.
君はすでにそれを知
You
っているは
already
ずだよ。
know. I looked up, and I tried to find the D sword blended into the scenery. Flying rocks, tear gas, smoke, people colliding all around me. I shut out all of it, and searched the sword I'd seen for just an instant on the roof of the O-front. I should be able to see it. It should be there. Part of the scenery, blended in. Find it. The D sword is always by your side.
見つけた
Found it. The building just to the right of the 107, there was a colorful vertical sign plastered to its side. It looked to me like it was the shape of a sword. I gulped nervously. I'd been able to see its shape on top of the O-front building too, but I hadn't been able to grab it.
自分の意志を強く持つんだ。
Clear your mind.
迷っちゃダメだ
Keep
から
it
ね。
steady and focused.
君には
You've
剣を
more
手に
than
入れる資
earned
格は十分にある。
the right to own the sword. I reached out from where I stood. If I was going to save the person I loved, I needed this sword. I needed it. I bit down my lower teeth. This wasn't like last time. I was surprised how calm my heart was. There was no fear. I couldn't let myself be afraid. But I wasn't calm either. There was an emotion burning and boiling up inside of me. There was something I had to do. No matter what.
掴むんだ。
Grab it. I was about 100 meters from 107. I moved my hand so that it seemed to overlap with the blade. I clenched. My hand was reaching out into empty open space, but I felt something. It wasn't cold or hot or hard or soft. I slowly pulled it toward me, holding it tight in my hand. Ripples appeared in the air, and out of the ripples it came. Far too long to be called a sword. So delicate it felt like it could snap at any moment. Filled with an unearthly elegance, but not a trace of ornamentation. Pure malice that threatened to drain away your soul. Beautiful curves that inspired awe and fear. The flames decorating its hilt flickered in time with the beating of my racing heart. It didn't feel heavy at all. In fact, it felt like it had become one with my hand, like it had always been there, a part of my body. It didn't feel like I was really holding a sword at all, so this was a D sword. I held it tight, with both hands. Right now, I could real boot it too. If I could make people around me aware of it too, this sword would become real. I didn't know how, so I just focused. Become real, I shouted in my mind. There was no more hesitation. Ah! Super Saiyan noises! The D-sword began to glow, as if in answer to my call. The decorative flames on the hilt became real, engulfing the blade in fire. I didn't feel any heat. The flames were soon absorbed. by the whole blade. And with a violent shockwave, the D-sword glowed red. Some of the people around me saw the weapon and were watching in shock, but only a few. The others were still fighting and cursing one another. The riot showed no signs of stopping. Look for the porters who are causing the riot. If you can destroy the devices they hold, the crowd's biorhythms will return to normal. Porters. Terminals of Noah 2. You've already seen the hint you need. The memories exist within your mind. I awakened it, the thing I'd seen. Fly and cross. Fly and cross, the promise is now. I hope you're not dead, man. We finally got a lead. Time to make sure it doesn't go to waste. Is Sua a delusion created by the Narose dude? It's painful, isn't it? Give it back. .028.062, new high score. What kind of magic trick is this? Nozomi. We call them porters. You might call them our mind control squad. The things I'd seen unconsciously, the things I'd unconsciously read with my mind. So I'm the one. So I'm the one who's been spying on people's minds. I guess that's appropriate. So technically, Takumi's been the one mind reading other people, and I've just sort of been getting glimpses. I let out a small, self-depreciating chuckle as Shogun calmly gave me my next directions. Unlock the channels. Read the porter's minds, like Kozapi does. They're somewhere here in the Scramble Crossing. Find them. Unlock the channels. I didn't even have to think about it, how I'd do it. I'd already done it before. I could even think about it. So we're refusing with our shadow clone jutsu self? When I did, the minds of all these people, their negative emotions, all became visible. It all came flooding in at once. Malice, hatred, jealousy, lust, subservience, cowardice, frivolity, filth, cunning, indecency, ugliness, vulgarity, greed, madness, murder. The hidden ugliness of all these people was revealed to me in a way more direct, more cruel, more terrible than words. All the negative emotions mankind could possess came in at me in a torrent of images, enveloping my mind, shattering and violating it. They looked at me with disgust, hurt me with their words, spat on me. My nails were torn off. I was punched again and again in the face, kicked from behind. My hair was ripped out. My nose was bitten off. My eyeballs were pulled from their sockets. My tongue was yanked from my mouth. My blood was drained. I was burned by hot water. My skin was torn off. My arms were cut off. All my bones were broken. I was struck with blunt weapons, stabbed with sharp ones. My organs were torn out. I was strangled, eaten by huge beasts, pushed off high places, drowned in the water, burnt in the flames. If I synchronized with them all, my mind would shatter. I felt like I was going crazy. I bit my teeth and tried as hard as I could to focus. Had Kozapi lived her whole life like this? Control the
コントロール
delusions
するんだ
so that you see what you need to see.
全てを受信しちゃダメ
Don't try to take them all in.
敵を絞り込み
Narrow your target.
音を頼りにするんだ
Rely on the sound. Sound. I listened as hard as I could, struggling to fight off the waves of delusions. All I could hear were their voices. I shut them out and searched for the sound. I heard it, a mechanical sound. The sound Saratan had said would kill me. I heard it in the memories of others too. Sen had used her D-sword to destroy Porter's backpack that had been emitting the sound. When I focused on it, I could hear a very specific delusion. May the divine light save us. There were multiple voices. There were more than just one Porter here, it
3人
seemed.
いるみたいだ
3 of them. I held my breath and took a step forward. The crowd was chaotic. Everyone in the scramble crossing was moving around, fighting without the slightest regard for any other human being. It was hard to walk straight. I hacked into the delusions of the people in the direction I was going. The people in front of me began to part. They made a path before me. 50 meters away, I saw a single man. There was nothing standing between us now. Our eyes met. He was pudgy, wearing a suit and carrying a backpack.
1人目
Number 1. I ran. I ran through the crowd, without running into anyone, straight ahead, via the fastest possible route, trailing the D-sword behind me. How? When the porter saw me, he turned tail and tried to run, but I wouldn't let him. Just like Santa had done, I swung a huge blade, even taller than I was, in a horizontal arc. It still seemed to weigh nothing. I could control it like it was part of my body. Its tip sliced into the backpack. The backpack and its contents would vaporize, as if they'd been melted by something impossibly hot. The man dropped to his knees, holding his hands over his head to protect himself. I ignored it and headed for the second one. Directly beneath O front. Once again, the obstacles between us disappeared. A path formed. A man was standing there. He was rail thin. He was wearing jeans and a checkered shirt. His hair was long and his skin was sickly pale. He was holding his bag carefully like it contained some dear treasure. He noticed me and immediately tried to hide within the crowd. But before he could, I threw the D-sword. Fly. I envisioned the scene in my delusion. It ignored all laws of physics, flying parallel to the ground, accelerating as it went. It suddenly altered its course as it flew, and ran right through the porter's backpack. There was a small burst of light, and the man toppled to the ground. One left. I ran over to the fallen man, and recovered my D-sword. The third was in front of the Hachiko statue. I knew this one. I'd encountered them a few times before. Actually, in fact, I'd talked to her almost every day. The crowd parted, and once again a path was formed. At the end of it, I saw a woman who looked very out of place. She was in a white nurse's
あな
outfit.
たが3人目
So you're the third porter?
葉月さん
Hazuki?
いや
No.
グリム
Grim. Okay, yeah, so I guessed it correctly. Grim. The nurse who'd smiled so kindly at me at the hospital. Now she was glaring at me, daggers in her eyes. There was a large handbag in her hands. It was probably Noah 2 terminal.
真実を
Reveal
暴くんだ
the truth.
彼女がしてきたことを
If you
こ
show
の
the
場にい
people
る人
here
たちに提
what
示す
she's
れば
done,
この熱病のような混乱は
the
収まる
chaos will end. What she's
彼女
done?
がグリムなら
If she's grim,
これまでの不自然な言動
then
に
you should have noticed some things that didn't make sense.
僕が最初に君に接
Remember
触した
the
時に
first time we spoke?
僕は君に
I told you
貼り
about
付け事件の
the
予言をした
crucified murder. It was a
君への
warning
警
to
鐘だ
you.
ったでも僕よりも
But
先に
before I did,
貼り付けを予言した人間
someone
が
else
いる
had told you about it too.
Oh.
I remembered. I remember the chat log. So are you the new gen killer? I remember the chat log from that night. Just before Shogun had spoke to me, Grim had left the room, along with a joke image he had drawn. It was the one that Hazuki had been drawing on the medical charts. It was a very poorly drawn picture, but what it showed me was the crucified murder. And then there was what Grim had said about the new gen murders too. It was all happening right near your house. LOL. I never told him I lived in Shibuya. And even just a few hours ago, Grim had said something that he showed he knew I was Takumi Nishijo. You're famous, they'll all be excited to see you. And then the second time I'd gone to the hospital, Hazuki said this.
高階先生は
Dr. Takashina is
も
gone.
ういません。
A week later, Dr. Takashina was found dead. I gulped.
あの人が
So she's
真犯
the
人。
real killer? I could find it out if I looked into her mind. That probably won't be a happy place.
信仰の救いあれ。
May the divine light save us. Hello? Shino Hadazuki was standing in the operating room at AH Tokyo General Hospital where she worked. It was late at night. On the bed was a young man, Chizuo Konoe. He had been put into a state of semi-unconsciousness by a sleeping drug.
信仰の救いあれ。
May the divine light save us. She kept repeating the same phrase over and over, like a mantra, as she rubbed her heavily. Oh my god! The baby and the pregnant man, dude? That was yours? It hadn't occurred to me that even if the killer was a woman, that it would have been her own baby that she put into a dude. I mean, also the baby would have been, one, you don't look like you've been recently pregnant, and the baby came. You would have had to induce yourself. You would have had to you would have had to pump chemicals into yourself to force a you would have had to chemically induce labor. Like there's like so many extreme things that are really hard on the human body. I mean, heck, even if you don't have to have a C-section, most women get fucking episiotomies nowadays, which is where let's just say it was not pleasant to watch because I was there when my son was born and I was there for all that, but let's just say all the blood and stuff was definitely made me feel uneasy, but yeah, I was very happy to hold my son when he was born. I was able to take 2 weeks off the job I had then. I stayed home and I took care of my wife and my child. She was very weakened and needed a lot of help, and he was slightly jaundiced when he was born, so thankfully it was middle of summer, so I was able to take him outside every half hour or so to try to get a little sunlight into him. I was doting over the both of them, doing everything I could to try to make sure I did everything possible for them. Though, of course, after 2 weeks I had to absolutely go back to work, but life basically was wake up, do what I could to be the best father and husband I possibly could, go to work, bust my ass to try to do the best I could, and then come home and again try to be the best husband, best father I could be. But yeah, this is a very dark turn of events for the story. I mean, even with all this, like, also, why were you my only online friend? Why couldn't I make other friends? At least you wore the glasses but didn't you also ask if I like people in swimsuits or something? We never saw that really apply to the story, but hey, Hazuki wear glasses. I have to look up the other secret achievements because that was probably one of the secret achievements. But you killed your own child. And I mean, honestly, that's probably the worst thing out of all of this. How could you do that? I mean, I remember when my son was still in the womb, I was literally reading him books and singing him lullabies, putting my hand on a belly and saying, I love you. I don't know how anybody could hurt somebody in that situation, let alone this fucking scenario. This is fucking dark. You know, I felt like up to this point everything's been not that dark. Now I honestly feel like the people who wrote this game, you guys are seeing therapy, right? Developers of the game. I think you guys need to see a therapist. Now, granted, I should see a therapist too. But I'm just saying, if Lunar D8 is concerned for your mental well-being, you should see a doctor. I'm just saying, like, dear developers of the games, granted, kind of selfish on my part because I'm kind of hug-deprived individual myself, but hugs deficiency and all. But do you guys need a hug? Because if you came up with this story, like, are you guys happy? Like, are you guys having depression? Dear developers of game, do you need a hug? I'll give you a hug. Because this is pretty fucked up. You okay? She slipped off her white uniform, sat down on the table, and picked up a knife. Oh my! This is... Are you stabbing yourself? Save us. On the one hand, without the context of everything else going on, I would find this extremely hot. But there is context occurring. Dear developers of the game, I hate you. I think you ruined a hagao for me. Everyone's like, what's a hagao? It's the meme about the orgasm face thing. Also, if I hadn't done the thing with the glasses, I would have a picture of her without the glasses. I assume correctly. Hopefully I don't have to do another playthrough in order to... But yeah, did you guys ruin... It'll probably just take a couple days and I'll be perfectly fine with hagao hentai again. I'm just saying, on the one hand, if there were no context, if I just came across this picture organically, not in the middle of a fucking horror game. Plap, 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 plap. Yes, terrible joke. But context. Context. Also, since you went in the rush to go to the... when you were called, does that mean Nishijo, the real one, called you with the nurse call button because he was worried that I was going to run into you in that situation? He didn't want me to. And he wanted me to be able to see your clipboard. I'm just saying. This... Yeah. Context is important. Fuck. Since I assume she's stabbing herself in the tiny person area.
This is just depressing. And then with no anesthetic, she cut open her stomach. There was a deftness in her touch that would have made any gynecologist or surgeon envious. What? I mean, it's cool for her that she's put all these points into her dexterity stats of her D&D character. But it's like someone mixed all the worst aspects of bard, paladin, healer, rogue. I mean, granted, they still made it into a really hot girl, but all the bad elements of the personalities of those people. It's like I roll to seduce the dragon. I roll to seduce psychosis. Just despite having no training as a surgeon, and despite the pain that would come from slicing open her own stomach, she cut in clean, even lines. Blood and amniotic fluid poured from the open wound. Her face twisted in pain. Okay, but why? Are you being mind controlled too, or are you just not a very nice person? And when she was done cutting, she reached a hand into her own stomach and pulled out a blood-covered fetus. The fetus wasn't fully developed, and the shock of being ripped from the womb had already ended its life. Hazuki cut the umbilical cord and gave her child a loving hug before placing it on the stand next to the operating table and sewing up her wounds. Just so we're clear, am I only just reading your mind, or am I simultaneously projecting this telepathically into the minds of 10,000 plus people, or at least over 9,000? Because everyone's about to have a fucking mental breakdown if that's the case. Jesus fucking Christ! The whole operation took less than an hour, and the whole time she was exposed to an incredible pain in her abdomen, the kind of pain that would have long since knocked a normal person out. Let's be clear, I don't like pain, but Jesus Christ! She stood up from the operating table. How have you not died of blood loss? She stood up from the operating table and brought the baby over to the man on the bed. She looked down on the unconscious man with bloodshot eyes before stabbing the knife hard into his belly. There was none of the grace and exactness she had shown when cutting her own stomach. The man woke up from the pain, but his limbs had been tied down tightly to the bed. There was no way for him to escape. She yanked the knife across his stomach, oblivious to his screams. It tore through the flesh and skin. Blood spurted out and splashing on her face. And everyone's like, oh, you're going to make a sexual joke about something spurting out and going all over her face like a facial? Like it's a fucking bukkake blowjob facial, sex joke. And I'm like, no. I may be a horny person who thinks about sex all the time. But no. We're just going to read this really fucking macabre, gory story with the constant image of a fucking ahagao in the background. How did you fucking storyboard this? When you wrote the how do you pitch this to the... And it's like, oh, do you want the story to change? No, I support creative freedom in terms of stories. But dear God, what was the creative process of... I don't want to know. I don't think I want to know. What the fuck? She yanked the knife across his stomach, oblivious to his screams. It tore through flesh and skin. Blood spurted out, splashing on her face. Jesus Christ. May the divine light save you. She put her hands into the open wound, and then she yanked it open as hard as she could. The sound of ripping meat filled the operating room. Wouldn't he have literally died of shock? Wouldn't the change in blood pressure, not just blood loss, but the change in how his heart was behaving, caused a literal heart attack? Plus, he needs that blood in order, the brain will shut down without the oxygen needed from blood. If you don't get blood, you're going to get oxygen. I mean, literally, you can die of suffocation or from... Because strangulation, I mean, one, you need oxygen to get to your brain. And to the rest of you. The sound of ripping meat filled the operating room. The man's body began to twitch. And the pain made him slip in and out of consciousness. Why do I feel like this would still be okay on Twitch term service? Jesus Christ. Yeah. When she saw the wound was big enough, Hazuki smiled gently. And then she took her own baby and jammed it into the wound. This is your memory, isn't it? You don't look like you were ever pregnant. You must have done a lot of cardio after that. Shino Hazuki was watching the video in shock. Am I broadcasting it to the giant fucking TVs? There were 4 big TVs in Scramble Crossing. Am I and all of... What the fuck? Emergency alert. Oh, an Amber Alert. Okay. Oh, that's...
Amber Alert. Grove City O. Silver Honda 4-door. Victim, 13. White female. Brown hair. Crop top. Gray sweatpants. Suspect, Jeffrey Jimenez, 17. White male. Black hair. Last known location, 2726 Independence Way. If you see the child, suspect or vehicle, please call 911 or 1-877 Amber Mo. https://ohioamberplan.org/
I would have rather been an emergency weather thing, like bad weather. Not that... Okay, can I... Well, that's also depressing. Well, fuck! All of them were showing her memories. She couldn't understand how it had happened. It had to be Takumi Nishio's gigalomaniac powers. These are your memories. Takumi Nishio spoke with his head down and the D sword in hand. The riot had calmed itself instantly. Now there was only silence. I mean, we did say we'd have our psychic powers to, find the killer, and technically we did it. The thousands of people who'd been fighting were now all staring up at the screen. Some turned pale and looked away. Some threw up on the spot. The medias were trying to turn their cameras on Hazuki. She was blinded by one camera flash after another. You were the one behind the New Gen killings, weren't you? You projected my memories onto the video feed, didn't you? You won't be able to talk your way out of this. All they'll need to do is test your DNA against the babies. Why did you do it? Tell me, Grim. Nightheart.
全ては
I was
教祖
only
様のお
following
言
the
葉なんで
leader's
すよ。
instructions. Hazuki put her hand into the handbag on her shoulder. It contained Noah 2 terminal port and a surgical knife. She grabbed the knife and put it up against her neck. As a nurse, she knew exactly where the I can't pronounce that. Carotid, or everyone else knows how to say that better than me. Artery was. And are you? I mean, obviously, from what we've seen, there's no reason why she'd have any hesitation. Hazuki smiled at Nishio in her kind smile, the one she always showed her patients. Shouldn't someone stop her? I mean, she kind of needs to stand trial. It's not the Jedi way! And may the divine light save us. Was quickly stained red by the blood spurting from her neck. Okay. He's a psychic!
救世主
He's our savior! Someone whispered, I'm kind of just staring at the red puddle here, guys. Can I just have a Pepsi? To calm my nerves? Only after I could feel many gazes upon me did I realize she was talking about me. Shino Hazuki had committed suicide by cutting her own throat in front of a huge crowd of people. Maybe it would be more accurate to say she'd martyred herself. I can still smell the disgusting scent of her blood. It probably has diseases too. The riot had completely calmed down. Shino Hazuki's memories displayed on the huge screen were the perfect way to calm the people's excitement. Everyone had fallen dead silent at the shocking footage. Blood was still pouring from her corpse. Several people walked over her. They started to kick her dead body. It was the corpse of a murderer. Did that mean there was no need to show it any respect? Yeah, no, she doesn't. She does not deserve respect. Were they going to chop off her head and display it somewhere like they did back when there's still samurai around? How much of a difference was there between her and the people kicking her body? I judge her more harshly. Honestly, I think their reaction is justified in this situation. Humans are such ugly creatures, including me. The media crowded around their big scoops, like pack of hyenas. Half went to Hazuki's body, the other half to me. Nishijo, that was astonishing. Were those your psychic powers? You really are a psychic. Wow. So, was today's gathering planned from the start to lure the real killer? At what age did you awaken to your psychic powers? What was your nickname when you were little? Did anyone ever call you a child prodigy? Are you going to be helping the police with their investigations? Would you like to be on our TV show? I wonder if Ayase and Yua were able to save Bon. Words of praise, one after another. Nishijo, great job! Kya Takumi, over here. You're amazing! I love you, please be my boyfriend. Friendly words, one after another. I felt the emptiness in all of them. What was the difference between a delusion and a fake image created by the media? There probably wasn't much of one, if there was one at all. Takumi. Oh. It was just like last time. The heat I'd felt, they were looking up at me from the bottom of the O-front building. Okay. Yeah, that would be a little... I'd probably start hyperventilating out of just the sheer anxiety of such a thing. I screamed. I couldn't take it anymore. So now you've all changed your mind? You're treating me like a hero? This is stupid. I started to cry. It felt so sad. I felt so stupid. I just had to cry. I was no hero. I'm a Taku loser, a pervert who spends all day jerking off who is not a Saratan figurine. I'm not even 18 and I still play H games all day. In my head, I'm stripping every girl I see on the street naked and imagine doing all kinds of perverted things to her. That's who I am. My face was covered with tears and snot. I had forgotten that all of Japan was watching me live on TV. I hadn't thought about how I was embarrassing myself again. I was a loser with no social skills, no ability to read the room. Well, am I still a hero? No, I'm no hero. I'm just a delusion. A creep, a failure, who can't do anything on my own.
The voice around me fell silent. The crowd stopped cheering. The media were looking at me, confused and suspicious. Here in the middle of Shibuya, in the heart of Scramble Crossing, my voice was the only sound. That's who I am. You don't get to decide who I am for me. I'll decide who I am. I'm not your toy. I'm not here for your entertainment. I've got something I have to do. I'm not here to do what you want. Suddenly I saw an image of Rimi's face. I just want to fight for the person I care about and then disappear. But before I could say that, suddenly I saw something in the night sky. It was turning white. Oh, they're doing the earthquake thing. It wasn't a cloud. It wasn't an out-of-season snowfall. It was the same phenomenon that occurred during the last earthquake. But by the time I had realized that, it was too late. The third melt. It wasn't supposed to happen this soon. First, there was a rumbling. The ground shook. The white in the sky spread further and further. Next, a terrible ringing in my ears. The high-pitched sound of something resonating that threatened to split open my head. Everyone around me was holding their ears as well. And then... third impact! The whole world turned white. Yeah, we finished chapter 9. I was standing on the water. The water was so clear, it was almost transparent. Well, hope everyone had a good day. Bye.